Welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Join us every Wednesday to learn about the latest cutting-edge developments in the real-time communications industry. ClueCon Weekly is brought to you by FreeSWITCH Solutions. Get support and professional services directly from the creators of the FreeSWITCH open source project, solving your issues in the most efficient, stable, and scalable way possible. Get the FreeSWITCH advantage. Visit freeswitch.com. Also brought to you by ClueCon, the premier technology conference for developers by developers. Join us every summer in Chicago. ClueCon kicks off on Monday with our annual hackathon, The Coder Games, followed by 3 days of technology-rich presentations discussing telecom, WebRTC, and IoT from developers around the world. To learn more, visit ClueCon.com or call 877-74-A-CLUE.
All right, everybody, welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Today is the 2nd of May, and this week, Mr. Michael Mavroudis is at OpenSIPS Summit in Amsterdam, and he's going to be joining us later, and he's going to have a bunch of guys there, Norm B., let's see here, look like Bogdan, Lorenzo, several of the other guys that are hanging out there this week, so you guys stand by for that. We're going to go over and get Mr. Josh to join us for the news. How you doing today, Josh?
Hey, I am doing all right, Ken. How are you?
Oh, man, it's going great today. One day.
Excellent. Yeah, all right. Well, hello to our community at large there. We welcome you back to another ClueCon Weekly episode here. If you have any questions during the episode, feel free to put those comments inside the YouTube chat, the IRC channel, or in HIP chat, and we'll be sure to pose your questions to the guests. And we will do our best to answer your questions during the call.
Yep, and everybody, don't forget, ClueCon's early this year, July 23rd through the 26th. That means you only have about 7 weeks or so before ClueCon gets here. So if you haven't registered yet, you need to go do that now. And for the month of April, we're doing a special deal for that. If you use the discount code CC2018, Spring Savings, and that's savings with an S, you'll get $300 off your registration. So go and get that in there today. Also, if you register before June the 1st, you'll get 15 extra tickets for the raffle, or you'll get 15 tickets for the raffle, excuse me, and more chances to win those door prizes that'll be given away. And it's just a few weeks away from revealing what the grand prize is going to be this year. So you guys watch out for that.
And FreeSWITCH would like to introduce FS Blue. It is our cloud-hosted VM solutions, basically where you can get a pre-provisioned VM with FreeSWITCH, or you can get FreeSWITCH and Fusion PBX. And we have many options to choose from, so be sure to check out freeswitch.com to see what we have to offer there.
And we'd also like to thank the newest ClueCon sponsor, Industrious Hive. Industrious Hive is swarming with highly accomplished full-stack systems engineers, designers, marketing professionals, and communicators. They've got the works. They're your tailor-made silent partner building products and relationships, maximizing your efforts and delivering exactly what your customers need.
Basic FreeSWITCH training and OpenSIPS training is available at ClueCon 2018. Space is limited, so be sure to register ASAP and visit the training page at ClueCon.com for more information and register. There is still time to sign up for basic FreeSWITCH training and OpenSIPS Summit, and this training will get you up and running in no time with FreeSWITCH.
And don't forget, Mr. Michael Jarris will be speaking at ComCon in June. That's over in the UK. So if you want to find out more about what he has to say on the future of FreeSWITCH at ComCon, visit comcon.xyz, that's XYZ for us Americans, and sign up for more information today.
And we are bringing back the boat tour this year, sponsored by VoiceTel. Last year we had a wonderful debut tour cruising up and down the river, and we also went out at the lake where we had some fantastic views of the city. You could see all the city buildings there and the high-rises. And so that takes place Thursday night, so make sure you make your reservation when you're signing up today.
Also, be sure to check out the ClueCon Weekly newsletter. and FreeSWITCH newsletter coming out over the next several weeks. Each week we'll be announcing more ClueCon speakers. So you guys want to find out who's going to be speaking at ClueCon? Watch out for those.
FreeSWITCH Solutions itself is offering a live virtual training. You can learn the basics of FreeSWITCH operations from the very comfort of your own home or office. Email training@freeswitch.com for more information.
Yeah, if you have any suggestions for future episodes of ClueCon Weekly, topics you'd like to see discussed, guests you'd like to see here, please email us at marketing@cluecon.com. We'll continue to add more instructional videos periodically, so you can check in regular for those, and you can also make suggestions at marketing@cluecon.com for those also.
As usual, be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be sure to click that little bell so you can get new video notifications in your inbox there, and sign up to our mailing list to get these and even more fantastic news. And now, more fantastic news and announcements from the FreeSWITCH team. All right, thanks for watching. Back to you, Ken.
All right, thank you very much, Josh. So we're going to go over to Michael Mavroudis. I think he's got a question for Community Corner this week. Michael, how you doing?
Good. We come to you live from the OpenSIPS Summit in beautiful Amsterdam. Today we have a question from Marva Bennett. And it's, how can we decrement the limit if the call drops?
All right. So the way that we've implemented mod limit, when you create a limit, we create a hook to the session itself. So if the call drops on you, you don't have to do anything. It automatically decrements the limit. The only tricky part about that is what session you attach the limit to. So you need to make sure to execute limit on the session that you want it to decrement if it drops. So whether that be the A leg or the B leg, typically you just run the application on the A leg. If you're actually logically attaching to the B leg, because you want it to follow that leg, you'll need to make sure to do some sort of execute application on the B leg so that it actually runs the app there, so that that behavior is attached to the right leg. Then it also handles transfer behavior and things like that. But as far as you don't have to do anything to manually remove the decrement the limit. In the case of the call dropping, we handle that for you.
So would there be a scenario where it actually doesn't, and I guess it technically would be like an increment, right?
Well, when you
it's decremented at the beginning of the call, and then it would increment it after the call's home.
Yeah, that's correct. So it when you run the application, does the decrement, and it puts it back in the pool at the end.
So how do you think this person is experiencing this issue?
You've spoken to them? Have you? Are they actually experiencing an issue with it?
Yeah. So they're using the database drivers, and so I kind of felt like it was almost like a database access issue.
Yeah, I mean, so if there's issues with that, the two things that I would look at would be, one, it's attached to the other leg, and the other leg is going out and doing things, and they're expecting it to happen when the one leg dies, but it's actually attached to the wrong leg. The other issue would be, and I've seen that a lot, so you got to look closely at which leg it's attached to. And then the other issue would be some sort of database errors where it's unable to access the database. But you should see those in logs pretty obviously. Those should look like errors. But my guess is it's attached to the wrong leg, and it's some sort of they mean to attach it to the agent, and it's actually the caller that it's attached to. So some sort of scenario like that. I've seen that quite a lot.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. Answers from the very best and most focused people in the world with their own software. So today we're coming from the OpenSIPS Summit. It's day 2. And we have a bunch of people to just kind of talk about what we're doing here. So since this is your summit, why don't you start?
Okay, thank you, Michael. It's a great experience to actually see the whole event being, finally alive after like 4 months of preparations. To see all the speakers together, giving the presentations, get the reaction from the audience, to see the joy of the people. Social events, they're really important. We had, because we mentioned before.
Social events are great.
Yeah, and we had the boat events, and I know that Michael is a big fan of boats.
Well, I'm a Greek. I have to love boats.
You have to. I mean, you are sponsoring the one in the ClueCon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So yeah, we had a really nice trip by the boat yesterday on the Amsterdam canals. It was really exciting. We had great weather, and today, as Michael said, was the second day. We finally completed the presentation. So 2 days of conferences. Tomorrow we'll continue with the demos, with design clinics, and the most important will be the training. The trainings we have in 2 days. We have the FreeSWITCH training and the OpenSIPS training.
Oh, and I'm going to be performing the FreeSWITCH training.
Yes, believe me, he's nervous about that.
Well, I got to make sure that I can do the best job I possibly can. That's for sure.
We fully trust you.
Thank
you. We have here with us some of the speakers, some participants to the event.
Some regular guests on the weekly calls.
Oh yeah.
Some gate crushes.
From the UK.
Yeah. Should we do end-to-end introductions?
Yeah.
Here, Dan, you want to start?
Yeah, so sure. So my name is Dan Bogos. I'm ZYRE's project lead. So
you got to be.
Yeah. I used to come to ClueCon, so I'll be there for sure. Next one, or shall I just say it?
So just say, so tell us a little bit about what you do, and you're really a regular when it comes to these circuits. So like we go to a lot of conferences, and I see him, quite often. And so Dan is the primary author of ZYRE. I guess you said that already, right?
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about ZYRE.
Yeah, so ZYRE is a billing engine. This year we got closer integration to OpenSIPS through inside the 2.4 release. So we came to talk about this. We are very happy to be here. I think we are here since the first summit in Amsterdam, and for sure we'll be happy to come again.
So we see Dan every year in Chicago.
Definitely. I love being there. It's a beautiful place, so I highly recommend everybody.
And so now you have native access into FreeSWITCH too, right? How does the billing software work with FreeSWITCH?
Yeah, so it will talk over the event socket with FreeSWITCH. It's tightly integrated. It's non-intrusive, so FreeSWITCH can do its own thing. We don't like force media going through our billing engine, or we simply exchange information, we communicate, and it's up to the administrator whether listens to our tips or not. So it's really non-intrusive.
And so your billing actually is very flexible, right?
Yeah, one can say that. We are trying our best to keep it that way.
You can essentially do anything. So like, assign based on time frame certain, parameters, and then.
Yeah, so we can limit calls based on their available balance. Then we can also count resources, like limit the capacity of channels in FreeSWITCH. Then we can provide stats for the calls, like real-time ASR, ACB. Then we can also provide LCR. Actually, about LCR, I will be talking. And we do some fancy stuff lately with number portability. in real time, so you can get the cost, the right cost based on the supplier, which should take the call based on the routing. And also we are able to select the supplier as well as correctly rate the call based on the supplier where the call goes, depending on whether the number is ported or not to that.
Right, and rating and ranking calls is very important because we need to know where our cost basis is and we need to know what we're billing. Mostly to ensure that we're not negative, right?
Yeah.
In real time. Never can go negative.
Michael, if I have a question to Dan, you know, out of curiosity,
Yeah.
like, how do you feel investing so much work, you know, in an open source, so basically free piece of software that actually help other people making money? Because, you know, typically when you say billing, automatically translates in making money.
Good question.
So
Yeah.
what's your, I mean, how do you feel regarding this?
Well, I think it was also a question of existence. I wanted to feel that I'm a part of something. So in the end, it's not all about money. Of course, we all need to live, but the satisfaction, it's more than the money. You really feel that there are people appreciating you, not all of them, but it's kind of it's a nice industry to be in. I was also talking to the people around. We tend, especially in IT, to work from home, and coming to all these meetings, we realize that we have more friends here than we have at home. So for me, it's a fact. So we meet maybe tens of people which are regular basis on these conferences and open source in general. So
yeah, I just wanted to ask because you know, most of us are doing, you know, different kind of open source software, but for you, in your case, it's a, you know, you are a special case because you are doing a billing engine, which is open source, right? So for you, you know, this side in terms of how you can monetize, you know, your work in terms of project, it's you have a special relation with you know, people using, because it's dedicated, it's a software dedicated for generating money. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, so from my point of view, it's no big difference between any kind of software, because in the end, it's just a niche which we found was necessary, was needed. In the end, we are all software developers and we could do the same good job whether we are doing billing or we are doing a website maybe.
Does it mean you have a backdoor for friends?
Yeah, so in some way, yes.
So I guess it's really about wrapping financial models around, you know, whatever the open source project is. Right? And so I remember discussing your different plans a while ago, and so you've got some really good financial models that kind of, you know, work with your particular customers.
Yeah, you can call that. It depends on the level of customer, and yeah, monetary in the end it exists, but I all the time try to hide it. So I put more accent on, especially on the conferences, on the value of the open source. So I really trust that open source is the right way to do it at our level. It's not about hidden tricks or something. It's really that we believe in the collaboration, and yeah, in the end, it's just writing code.
So next we have Alex, and he runs a company called ZYRE.
Yeah, that's right. So I just wanted to interject on the open source side. Alex Goulis from Raketel made a very good point earlier on that the OpenSIPS crew, the FreeSWITCH crew, the ZYRE crew, all of this open source software would not be possible without some commercial relationships and people paying for consultancy or custom patches, etc., etc. It makes the world go round. So, you know, I think the important point is here with all of these projects, when you think you need something custom or you need some help, talk to the guys that wrote it first.
Absolutely.
They're not as unapproachable or as expensive as you may think. You know, at the end of the day, they know that code better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And your contribution towards FreeSWITCH, towards OpenSIPS, towards CGRX and any other project in the open source community allows those projects to continue.
And it's true. You know, from a commercial perspective, you know, if you went to Microsoft, right, there's no way you would actually get to the core developers.
No.
Right, and so that's something you could go directly to the source. You can get the ultimate best knowledge from the people that understand their own code base the best, and that is the true power of open source.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, also, you know, if you can help out, sponsor, every little bit helps. With conferences like this, you know, there's a lot of people here that, you know, people think of conferences and everybody gets rich off of it. A lot of people are putting in huge amounts of their own time to make this work and to bring people together.
Right. There's all different types of contributions. So there's monetary, there's time. You volunteer your time. Yeah. You could volunteer in many different ways.
Absolutely. So sorry. Hi. I'm Alex Kinch. I'm CEO of ZYRE. We're a wholesale carrier for voice and messaging in the UK. We also operate in another 5 countries on top of that. And this is my first OpenSIPS conference, my first OpenSIPS Summit. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
You guys have been wonderful. You know, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed myself for the last couple of days.
And then we have Lorenzo.
That's me.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Miniero. I'm the lead of the I'm Lorenzo Mangan. I'm the CEO of QXIP and lead, or co-lead, I should say. Nobody's the lead of the Homer project. I speak publicly more than the other guys.
So I was going to say, most famous for Homer, right?
The ugly face of Homer is right here. That's me. So it gets only better. The others in the team are much nicer, but we like to keep them for paying customers. So we only show the good-looking guys to, you know, those that endorse the project. We've got to
imagine the other one.
Yes. So, well, what to say? With me is Federico Cabido. Also, he's been
proud member of the team.
Proud member for as long as I can remember, and bringing a lot of value from you know, the real world. So Homer, you know.
Yeah. So you guys just recently came out with seven
right? years of Homer, 7 versions of Homer.
What happened to 6?
What happened to all the even versions of Homer, you should ask. So there wasn't 2, there wasn't 4, there wasn't 6. So if you pay close attention, you'll see there's a pattern there. The pattern is that, one every 2 versions we make a development one. We should call it that to make it sound good. Or a too ambitious version that then gets, you know, redimensioned to something realistic, which this year is 7. So yeah, 7 years of Homer since we started with Alexander Dubovnikov, who's not here because he's camera shy. And hopefully, you know, one more version bringing something useful to the battleground of VoIP. So, as you know, our only purpose is to try and make it easier for colleagues to troubleshoot often the mess that we create ourselves, you know, by doing such creative recipes.
So let's talk about integration. How easy? Okay, so from a FreeSWITCH perspective,
yes,
switch.conf, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could go in there and we could just turn on HAP.
Correct.
Right. So that's how easy it is.
The basic stuff. So this way, you just enable the Sophia profile and automatically you have the.
But it doesn't stop there because we also plug to the ESL, to the event socket, and we can subscribe to just about anything that it can emit, and we can correlate it back to the flow. So that in Homer, you can not only see the the messages that you're sending, but you can also see any dial plan action, log, or anything really. We can also actually turn the RTCP relay messages that go through ESL back into RTCP that Homer can record, and so on and so forth.
And so, what are the benefits of that? So we get a lot of interesting scores that we can graph.
Yes, you can. And
we love graphing.
You've got to understand also how FreeSWITCH made a decision, not just the message that resulted from that decision. So if something gets denied, you have a chance to see why internally FreeSWITCH has made a certain decision or whichever action triggered it. So stuff for experts.
And it keeps away the hackers.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe.
Well, nothing to do with security. Actually, Homer, if not secured, could be actually a vector of.
Shh! Never say that. We don't want.
Never let the secrets out.
Well,
We
there's
don't,
stuff, you know.
we don't like to talk about vectors.
Well, I meant
because it's all about kittens, rainbows, and
those are also
and puppies.
If you zoom in enough, those are made of vectors too.
So can I ask a question? What's the difference, apart from the financial contribution of the commercial version of Homer, which is a name that escapes me right now, and the open source version? Are there more features in the commercial version?
Well, there's no commercial version of Homer. So Homer is really 100% open source.
Okay.
We have a commercial equivalent, which is called HAPIC. It shares almost nothing with Homer except the HAP encapsulation protocol. And this is just something that we designed for specific purposes that very large operators do have. It doesn't impact how average Joe or the small medium operator can use it. So
So how big is it effectively? So it's a distant cousin. It's related in a way, but not the same.
The biggest, the bigger, or the more intelligent brother?
Well, yeah.
Second cousin first removed or something.
Yeah. It's the rich brother of Homer.
Sure.
Bigger house, better lighting, but at the end they do the same job. It's just designed for different purposes.
Okay.
And so when you bring on so how does someone learn about Homer, and how do they tie into it for the first time?
Well, I like to think that it's because of the conferences that we participate, such as OpenSIPS, ClueCon, Amsterdam, and so on, where we get a chance to meet our users, we get a chance to meet the people that have the problems that we're trying to solve. So
Through the community. The
through the
community is everything.
Through the community. I would say we're 100% community powered. So we do not commercialize, promote our project services.
Best way to be.
And the phone rings. So I like to think that it's because we do something.
And also the design choice at the end came back from community input. All the new refactoring, the latest refactoring of Homer came from Janus and MediaSoup, for example, Medium.
Yes. So as the community evolves, we try to just keep up. And also, it applies to keep up with Bogdan is the hardest, because the OpenSIPS team made an extension to the HAP formats that it supports, so it's been already able to send really interesting stuff, all of its logs, MI, REST commands out, and they did it so fast that it took us months to catch up and make it visible in Homer, which is now finally possible. So we challenge each other and improve each other.
So is it almost as if Homer is almost the central logging repository of all the information about a call, including the FreeSWITCH information, or the OpenSIPS information, the SIP, the RTP stats, etc., etc. So it's your one source of knowledge for diagnostics.
Yes, that's what we aim at. And it doesn't necessarily always work, but it's
diagnostics, statistics,
alerting.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about, is that new in 2.4?
Sorry?
So are those all new? Is that new from 2.4?
No, actually, most of them are since 2.3 from last year.
Yep.
We had quite interesting and long discussions at the time about what should be the next step in terms of performing the data capturing, and I think that was the boiling point for, let's say, saying, okay, let's move away from SIP only capturing.
Correct.
So we said, okay, what else can be captured? And we find out that there are a lot of other kind of interesting data that are relevant, when you want to monitor and to find out what's happening with your VoIP platform. So information about the TCP connections, maybe information about different kind of REST queries you can do from the script, or information about different kind of commands you may receive to the interfaces. And all this data, the value of the data increases with the complexity. If you have multiple types of data that you correlate, that increases the overall value of that data. Because if you look at the SIP, it's just SIP, but you don't know exactly what happened in the rest of the system. And sometimes it's crucial because the system is not only SIP data.
It's the work platform that.
And I think also, from a diagnosis point of view, whether it's your carrier side, or if you can abstract out the information that's at home to a customer, having all that information in one place saves so much time. You can start spotting patterns. You can,
Exactly.
you have a central place to analyze multiple streams of information.
See, what I found so interesting today was the timer, getting the timer based on options. And so that's the ultimate proactive way of seeing connections degrade. So as the aggregate of the options increases, just shift that to another data center, right? Where it could be potentially, much better. Instead of, monitoring something like a MOS score, monitoring the options is pre-collect, right? And that's great. That's a neat new feature. I found that really interesting today.
You can also create intersections between the quality measurements and the performance of the box now. So you could be looking at the CPU and the code quality, and you can see when they start impacting each other, for instance, and exactly.
So could there be a point where with the more recent OpenSIPS and FreeSWITCH integration, that's looking at the load on FreeSWITCH, number of sessions, the CPU, etc., could there be a point when Homer turns around to OpenSIPS and says, actually, something's wrong with this box because of the information that's coming back? Take it out of the load balancer.
That popped up in some discussion a while ago. So actually, the ability to fetch load information from FreeSWITCH was a first step in the integration. Right now, it's more complex because you can actually have kind of a custom interaction through ESL interface from script level with FreeSWITCH, and you can get events, so you can build more complex interfacing. But we were talking, I think, a couple of months ago that communication between, let's say, at least in our case, like OpenSIPS producing data and Homer, gathering the data and let's say crunching and putting everything together shouldn't be like a one-way communication.
Sure.
It should be a bidirectional communication because crunching the data, you may find out things that maybe, let's say, the VoIP engine is not aware of. So you can, exactly as you say, you can come back with feedback saying, okay, there's something wrong with the route. You can look even like you do capture RTCP statistics from media. So something that the SIP server, at least in our case, is completely unaware. And looking at such data, Homer can go back and say, okay, change that route to a gateway because the audio has a poor quality. So
I suppose you could even go as far as changing the routing on an IP level based on latency of options and things, and things like that. There's the more information, the better, in a place where you can analyze this all in one place.
Exactly, because
talking about this point.
Well, also with FreeSWITCH, starting with version 1.4, so we're calculating MOS scores. We're doing that stuff internally.
And as long as it's through the ESL, Homer can be made aware of it without guessing.
Yeah, and so that's all. But it's that direct connection, the direct connection to ESL. You wouldn't even have to go through OpenSIPS. You could just go from Homer and just go directly into ESL because we make so much stuff, so readily available. And so some of the new integrations that between OpenSIPS that utilize ESL is, like he was saying before, they're awesome. So
yeah, actually, Livy will have an interactive demo tomorrow about showing how you can capture DTMFs from FreeSWITCH from a call, and then.
Right, and we did that on a weekly call like a month or two ago.
Oh well, now right now it's to be everything like say shown from scratch, how you actually build the script and play the demo, and how you can change the status of the call inside FreeSWITCH based on the DTMFs that you receive from FreeSWITch. So it's a bidirectional communication between the two entities in order to do something fancy with a call.
Right. And so that type of control, it's really interesting because it's something that we really haven't seen a lot in the past. I guess you could, but it wasn't coming. It was coming from a program layer. So like you would run, you'd run a language and the way, access it from FreeSWITCH, and then it would, start playing around with the call control. But this is different. This is a higher level of integration.
So far, in most of the cases, interaction was. And that's, let's say, true for many, let's say, entities, pieces of software in the VoIP world. The communication is limited to SIP only, which is kind of a crippled kind of a communication. Right now, say, okay, let's use something and let's use the events or some kind of a back channels in order to get more information, non-SIP information that actually can help you again to do to get more control over the things rather than simply relying on the SIP protocol. Because okay, SIP has its own limitations. It's for calling, it's for actually for establishing sessions and so on. But if you want to do more complex things, then you have again a way to interact through non-SIP channels with the other entities. It's, for example, like we interact with the ZYRE through a non-SIP protocol, because ZYRE doesn't see at all the actual VoIP call. It sees an abstract session sent by OpenSIPS. So that's a perfect example of a non-SIP communication. And for the interaction with the FreeSWITCH, the SIP channel is backed by a non-SIP one, in order again to decide exactly how the call should be handled in the future.
Sorry, there's a little pause here when the guy with the vacuum cleaner just walked out the elevator.
Yeah,
We're going to have to wrap things up a little bit.
So
surprisingly, how scary a vacuum cleaner can be.
Especially on live broadcast.
especially on a live broadcast.
I see also an important pattern between the open source projects lately. So if before they were not communicating much, lately they start communicating and they start finding solutions together, which is kind of cool. So seeing all the projects like developing internal protocols to communicate between themselves, I think it's a very good pattern, because this is also our way of competing with the commercial world out there. So I think we know that they have way more power of development, and they are way better backed up commercially and with money. But on our side, we with small teams we manage to make competition. So that's, I think, a good thing for the future of open source.
So what's the next integration with OpenSIPS or with Homer or with FreeSWITCH? What's there left to do? What's apart from the conversation we just had about the more detail about being able to have bilateral control and feedback.
Do you want to share the Homer side?
Oh, you're giving me now the responsibility.
So we have something in planning.
Well, one thing we discussed, there's the new clustering features in 2.4. And I think that's definitely something we'll go after. So, also monitoring the status or how the OpenSIPS cluster features will make it evolve is something that I think it's of big interest in the monitoring realm. So, from our side, here's an idea.
And there was a discussion about this. Actually, it's more on to create more flexibility in the integration between the two sides, to have this dynamic registration of data types.
Oh, yes.
So whenever, let's say, we invent a new kind of a data type in OpenSIPS, we don't have to go and change anything in Homer. Yep. It will automatically learn it. So that would be, again, kind of relying on the bidirectional communication between the two. So OpenSIPS will just go and register kind of a new data type, and Homer will just know what to do with it.
It doesn't make us. Yeah, well, it doesn't make us sound like magical, but the reality is this is because OpenSIPS is able to send correlated events. So when it sends a SIP session and then it sends the logs, it's OpenSIPS itself that will tell us, hey, this log that I'm sending is correlated to an ID of a session. So that this makes Homer's job a lot easier, meaning that we don't have to guess or do queries on top of queries to find out what's related. But OpenSIPS is making it native and easy for us.
So I have a question. With my learned friend who's very experienced in fraud monitoring and detection with ZYRE, is any of the information that Homer's capturing useful to ZYRE to detect and to prevent fraud?
Well, I think we already discussed about this next project.
I'm just opening, just opening up a can of worms everywhere here.
So,
but you keep a lot of your own statistics. You're keeping a lot of information.
Yeah, but it's just the information we learned out of CDRs. So mostly it's sessions and CDRs. It doesn't have anything to do with RTP.
While on our side we have no information on the cost of the call.
Yeah.
and other kind of patterning.
Guys, it's lovely to introduce you. You should work together more often.
Well, there is a secret behind the scene.
And
So-
it just came through today. Did you notice that? From starting from today, we can ingest CDRs from your system and make them searchable in Homer. Have you noticed?
No.
Well, here's the news. We kept it for a FreeSWITCH conference. That's one of the new features of 7.
So Homer can now ingest the cost of the call.
Yeah, we can ingest the full
Understand.
CDR that CGRates generates,
Yep.
make it searchable, so that you could go in Homer, you could search CDRs for Lorenzo, find my call, and automatically, since it has a call ID, we could also fetch all of the SIP messages that we collect. So it works kind of like a glue, or let's say a transaction search based on a CDR, and it's going to be a very powerful feature. And of course, it will carry the cost. So, once that makes it into the system, this means that we can most likely use it for comparison and analytics and so on. So yeah,
This sounds a bit scary. Do you plan to do another Cambridge Analytics?
So they are gathering everything on their side. But I think it's a good thing. So as I told you, integration between, it's also giving the power to the end user to choose the way it fits best to his personality, because each company is driven in different way. So if they have all these options, I think we are more, like I said, competitive in regards with commercial solutions.
And then, sorry, just one last question. So obviously, CGRates can tell FreeSWITCH by the event something to drop a call for whatever reason, whether it's a balance issue or whatever. Can Homer at some point request that FreeSWITCH drops a call for whatever?
Well,
if there's a quality issue or there's a, I don't know.
we
something-
stay passive just so that nobody can blame us. But yeah, in theory, it could. Yeah.
Because theoretically, you
Well, you'd see that directly in the signal.
yeah, but you could add some sort of alarm monitoring on Homer that says,
Oh, yes.
just drop.
So you could
the
just,
call.
basically put a
It's
simple
already
filter.
possible. So
Yeah.
the new version uses, for instance, InfluxDB, which has capacitor platform for generating alerts. Based on a specific condition, you could send REST command to another API or something that triggers an action.
Yep.
It wouldn't be directly Homer, so we still sort of feed another platform that could take those actions. But Homer is strictly passive, so we do nothing of an active nature, but we do allow using our API to make such decisions.
Okay.
So
So I think we'd see something like what, 482, call does not exist or something like that.
Possibly, yeah. But it would be more about making a query to the Homer's API and say, hey, did this server experience any 500s in the last 5 minutes? And maybe use that to make a decision.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I guess we're coming towards the end of the call, right? Who's coming to ClueCon this year?
Hopefully.
Lorenzo, come on, you got to put up that arm.
I'll
Especially
tell
with the
truth,
new
I'll tell the
stuff.
truth. I don't have
Especially
a
with the
passport, and I cannot buy the ticket. But I would. Say, who would go to ClueCon this year?
You do have a passport because I saw you in Orlando.
It's expired.
It's expired.
Have you ever been Italian, bro? I'll tell you. This is a story for another conference.
About a week before I travel, I constantly worry about that. I was like, well, maybe it's going to expire this year. And so I have that panic, like, oh my God, is this going to be the year that I'm going to show up at the airport and people are going to be like, you're expired and you can't go.
That's definitely a reminder to the FreeSWITCH core developers to make sure they have valid passports. There's at least one that.
Okay, so do we have, I guess we'll start with questions from the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience? Norm, you want to come in and ask the question?
No, that's okay.
So we have a question from the audience, and the question is from someone that's actually right in front of us. And it is a little camera shy. When is there going to be a mod Homer? And so...
A mod what?
When is there going to be a mod Homer?
Isn't there already?
Well, yeah, I guess we do actually kind of tie in.
Well,
right?
we're so deep
with
into
the
the platform
protocol.
that we don't even have a mod something. But I think HEP, has been in FreeSWITCH for a really long time. I think it was the first platform to support the HEP encapsulation protocol. So yeah, it's
like there's a mod
CGI
rates. There's a mod CGI rates.
Come on in. Come on in.
Well, I'm Alex here.
Yeah.
Another question was, because it was a great conversation about CG rates and Homer and Bogdan with OpenSIPS. And I was just wondering, there's a mod CG rates with OpenSIPS. Is there thought of development of a mod Homer for OpenSIPS?
What do you understand? Like okay, in our case, the structure is a bit different, and there is a transport layer for the Homer. It's already, let me see, I think for, at least in the actual format for 2 years. And on top of this, we call it, it's a proto HAP, actually in our case. And on top of this, we can collect data from different levels. For example, from transport layer, from signaling level, from event layer, and so on, that are pushed through the this HAP protocol. But I was thinking to extend this in order to maybe for the future create some balancing between multiple connections or doing some kind of failover between connections.
As usual, Bogdan is modest. You can also switch HAP.
Yeah, and this is one of the
And
power.
so there's also several
proxy
memory agents you can you as well as tying directly into.
Yeah, but like one thing that we
You
don't
can-
have.
You can share your data across the kind of message. And
Yeah,
this
and
is a really
OpenSIPS is
powerful-
basically able to do for HAP everything that it does for SIP. So, you know, it could be a proxy of HAP. You could send all of your traffic there. And OpenSIPS could say, this is a media report. I'm going to send it to Homer A. Or this is from another guy. I'm going to send it to Homer B. So it actually allows to work as a proxy in front of Homer. And it supports our protocol like no other system. So
Well, thank you.
there's no more mod than that.
Come on in.
So Lorenzo, as a longtime user of Homer, right, and somebody that's evaluating Epic, right, I see that you're kind of closing the gap a little bit with Homer 7. Is that
Well,
have to say?
Yes, it's true. So
I mean,
it's not like one excludes
tiers
the
of
other.
technology.
I was serious when I said, you know, there are two parallel projects. So it's not like one is made to cripple the other. Is it that doing things 100% open source sometimes, you know, has different challenges. So when you write your own platform and you're gonna do whatever you want on your own, you know, you can bend the rules and you can make certain things happen very fast. With Homer, the idea is still to keep it, you know, 100% open source and compatible with all of the other open source systems. So we necessarily have to do things in a way that's realistically supported by those systems. So that's really the gap between the two, is the systems that they interface with.
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a user. We love you.
Well, Ken, back to you. Thank you for having us here or allowing us to be on the call in beautiful Amsterdam.
Yeah, all right, guys. Hey, once around, Alex, Lorenzo, Homer team, OpenSIPS team, Daniel, everybody, thank you guys for joining us today. If I missed somebody, sorry. Everybody that's behind the camera throwing in questions, thank you guys for asking those questions. So, guys, give us a wave, and we'll see you guys at ClueCon. And anywhere else at any other conferences, we'll see you guys at. Thank you very much, guys. So next week, we've got a bunch of cool stuff coming up. So you guys check the calendar for that. Don't forget, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. And for you guys that are watching us on the YouTube feed here, right below the video is that subscribe button. I think it's right over here. If you'll click that, then you're going to see a little bell. Click that little bell, and so you'll do both subscribe to the channel, and that lets other people know that you guys like what we're doing here. And the little bell will get you the alert. So when we go live, when we post new videos, that kind of thing, you'll get alerts in your inbox and various other locations. So you guys do that, and we'll see you back here next week. Thank you.
You've been watching ClueCon Weekly. Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central. Keep up with the latest happenings by subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or visit us at FreeSWITCH.com.